Well, me. Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I hope you're all well. So this is another episode of High Gain Harmony. This is like a new kind of video thing that I wanted to do on my channel, which is basically where I take two high gain amplifiers and I see if they blend well together in a dual amp rig. And this is kind of useful in many ways because on one hand, if you're interested in making a dual amp rig, then these are some useful, I guess, tips and approaches to trying to find two different types of gain amp that can blend well together. But also if you use modelers, then, you know, we have models of all amps that you can get hold of nowadays. And so it might give you an idea of which models might blend well together when you're making yourself a preset on one of your modelers. As I've said, it is called High Gain Harmony. Maybe we will branch out into lower gain and crunchy stuff, but it's quite fun just, you know, hearing high gain amplifiers blended together. And if you've got any suggestions for amplifiers you want to hear me blend together, please put them in the comment section below. But we're starting out with my high gain amp collection that I have here. There's some other amps that I've got in storage that I want to bring in as well. And I was hoping that maybe I might be able to get hold of a couple of amplifiers from different manufacturers for the purpose of testing out how they sound in a blended rig. But without further ado, let's crack on with High Gain Harmony episode 2. So in the first episode, we tried out my JVM 410, my beloved Marshall JVM 410, alongside the Peavey 5150 Mark I. The 5150 is your kind of go-to metal amplifier in recording situations. However, the 5150 and the Massaad rec were essentially hugely inspired by the Soldano SLO 100, which of course, if you do know that, is one of the first sort of high gain, cascading gain amplifier designs that came out in the 80s. I've done videos on it on my channel, I'll put them in the description box. But considering the 5150 and mainly the 5150 was directly inspired by the SLO, I kind of thought about it in the way of like father and son. Now, if you've got a quad cortex from your DSP, I did make a preset called Father and Son, which is an SLO model and a 5150 model blended together in that way. And I thought, hang on a minute, this is a really cool idea. I could do this in real time. So I've got the Soldano SLO 100 plugged into the So Reactive IR, and then I've got the 5150 Mark I down here plugged into the Torpedo Studio from 2 Notes, and both of those got no cab sims on, but they're going straight into Logic with an instance of Archetype Nolly from Neural DSP running 2 cabs because that's how I like to do it these days. It sounds really fun. And of course you can tweak after the fact if you want to. But how cool is that? So we've got the originator of high gain cascading gain stage amplifier, the Soldano SLO, and we've got essentially it's like love child, which is the 5150. So here we go, let's check it out. Okay, so we're going to start with the minors. This has got my bare knuckle silos in it, so I'm really familiar with the sound, and we'll go through each amp. Basically, I'm plugging into the Decibel 11 split personality. I've got a Maxon OD8 in front because, of course, the tube screamer in front of a high gain amp is something we need to try. That splits off to the front of each amplifier, so I can affect both with the Maxon. So let's start by hearing the SLO. This is the SLO on the Crunch channel, because obviously we'll move up in gain. This is the Crunch. And here comes the 5150. It's really interesting. Aside from the fact I'm using 2 different load boxes, so there are going to be some discrepancies in the sound, of course. You can quite clearly hear similarities in the tone. So for a start, something that I've always noticed on the SLO is on a crunch, when you let it ring out, you start to hear this kind of like fizzy kind of, I'm not sure what it's called in technical terms, but as the sound dissipates, you kind of hear this crackle. Can you hear that? Let me do the same thing on the 5150. It does the same thing. And And that is something that I noticed with just the Soldano. And at first I was like, I need to get rid of that sound. It's annoying me when I'm using it with a different amp that doesn't do that. But actually it's part of the sound of the amp. And it's interesting when you team it up with the 5150, of course, you get that doubly. So back to the sound of each amp. This is the SLO. 5150. Tried to match the gain stages, both with bright switch on. Here we go, both together. One thing I would say immediately to my ear is that I can hear the Soldano has more clarity, and I've tried to keep the EQ similar. I've actually put more high end in the 5150. This could be a load box thing, because I'm using the same speaker model, but I'm noticing that the Soldano has more room in the top. Sounds lovely. Let's throw on some reverb and delay. I am in love with that sound, and it's not one that I was expecting. I mean, like, I used to blend the crunch channel of the 5150 with the JVM and get something like that, but it's nice that, I don't know why I thought that if you're doubling up two of the same amp, it's almost like too much of a good thing. Like, you want that difference in sound, but I guess they're different enough that you're getting that. You know, I like hearing a clear delineation between the two amps that I'm blending together, and these are the closest that I've heard. But that's obviously, there's a reason for that. But the amount of dynamic I'm getting from these crunch channels. It sounds really good, really good. So let me use the full humbucker. And this is another reason that I really like the 5150 crunch, and, you know, obviously the Soldano crunch as well. But for when I was doing, and this is the carnival thing that I really like. So you play with like a bit of crunch, you palm you got some ambience going on there. And when you play certain chords and things, you know how it has that kind of attack and that like nice dissipation, and there's something in the attack of and the style of gain for that style. So I don't know if that made sense audibly to you guys, but that's something that I relate a lot to the sound of like a 5150 or the Soldano, is that slight chew in the attack. and this nice kind of soft gain thing. It's like the lower breakup with the 6L6 or something. Not really quite sure, but it really works, and that's something that I've really become a fan of. I'm going to throw on the max on, see how heavy we can get it. Here comes the max on. Sorry about the amount of reverb and delay there. I was just having a quick go with the max on, but you can hear that it's doing the right thing to the amp. It's just that it sounded quite choked because there wasn't enough gain. But it is nice for a low gain leady thing. If you just kind of... Anyway, let's move on to the thing that we're all here for, which is the high gain. Okay, I'm over onto the overdrive channels now on both amps. Just so you know, gain's at 6 on both amplifiers. The EQ's set the same, so bass at halfway, middle and treble at around 1, 2 o'clock. A little bit more on the Soldano than the 5150, but I boosted the presence more on the 5150. I tried to get it as close as possible, but anyway, let's hear the Soldano on its own. Okay, you get the idea. 5150. Back to the SLO. 5150. Both together. What a sound. That is disgusting in such a good way. That's not even with the max on, but it's just, it's just angry. I could get lost just chugging for ages. Okay, should we try with the max on? Here it comes. me. That is awesome. Now, it shouldn't come as any surprise because we know this about high gain amplifiers, but this test, the father and son test, I was not expecting to be that flawed by every tone that I've tried, and I don't know if that's understandable or not, but wow. With the Maxon on, now I get it. You know, I'll be honest, if I use a tube screamer in front of most high gain sounds, I hate it. I find it too out of control. Doesn't give me the tone that I hear on the records. I'm like, where am I going wrong here? It's really not my thing. Maybe it's because I don't use a 7-string. Maybe there's a specific way that I don't play. I'm not sure. But I've always been a bit lost on why people do that until this very moment. Because without the Max on, it sounds thick. It sounds more like metal, like even some new metal vibes there. You put the Max on and suddenly you go into like really aggressive metal, like where you feel like it can go genty and all the rest of it. I'm going to change guitar. Wow. I keep saying it. Wow. Okay. Max on. Okay, I'm just going to end up chugging for hours with this tone, but it's doing the thing that I can hear now, that I like associate with that genre. It barks at you. It's really angry in such a nice way, in such a good, satisfying way when you dig in, and it just gets more intense, you know? Okay, so I've got the Jason Richardson Cutlass. I'm going to throw on the Max on and let's hear what that low 7 does to make it sound genty. I'm not a gent player, but you get the idea. You can hear that lends itself to that style. I don't have a noise gate either because I just generally don't use them. And this kind of sound absolutely needs a noise gate because listen. I mean, it's noisy. Okay, so we tried it with the 7-string real briefly, just so that we could hear if it does do the thing that the thing is with the gent stuff. So lastly, I just wanted to try some lead because I figured, you know, this is Eddie Van Halen's signature amplifier. Rest in peace, my dude. And of course the Soldano, which inspired the whole thing. And apparently he used to use it before that. So, you know, it's got to be good for lead. We've still got the Max on in, but I haven't got it on. And we've got some reverb and delay on now. So let's have a listen to this. It's really nice to play. There's so much compression and sustain that it just lets you play like how you want for lead stuff. So throw on the max on, see if it gets any sweeter. Okay, so that would conclude this episode of High Gain Harmony. This is episode number 2. So far, I'm enjoying myself with this. It's already going in the direction I wanted to. I'm learning new things and I'm enjoying new things as well. Like, I'd not teamed these two up before, and I have to say, what a sound. What a sound. When I put the Soldano and the 5150 together, the crunch was great, it was dynamic, I could do the push clean thing that I'm used to, and then it, you put the max on in front, even on the crunch, you get a nice thick kind of chordy sound. Go over to the overdrive channel, and it just sounds huge, absolutely huge. Really, really impressive tone. What I like is that they're very, very familiar. Like you could almost say that like if you had two 5150 Mark 1s or a 5150 Mark 1 and a Mark 2, that you might be able to get a similar thing, so you don't necessarily need to spend thousands and thousands on the SLO. But it's interesting how close they do sound and how clear you can hear that inspiration there within the 5150. It was just great. And every single tone that I tried with every guitar, I had the support for the lead, I had the purring and the growling for the heavier progressive stuff. It sounded colossal. When I wasn't using the max on, I could get the depth and the mood and all the rest of it. Generally speaking, that is one of the nicest tones I've tried in this room. Really, really, really enjoyed that. There's many reasons why that might be, but in this instance, I'm just going to decide that it's because it's the father and the son combination, the SLO 100 and 5150, that just rightly belong together. But that would conclude this episode of High Gain Harmony. If you're enjoying this so far, then please let me know in the comment section, and also please suggest other amplifiers for me to blend together in future episodes. Put them in the comment section below. As I said, I've got these amps here. There is 8 amps here. We've got loads to try just in this room, and I do want to see if I can get other amplifiers to try as well. I've got the Rev Generator 100R to try. I've obviously got the Generator 120. I think next we might try the 5150 Mark 1 and 2 together. Who knows? I don't know. Do you know? I don't know. Do you? Please suggest in the comment section below. And until next time, like, subscribe and share. All the links in the description box and all that. I've been Rabea. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.